the expert, the insider. On the Comcast Business Hotline, every day in business is a big day. Let Comcast Business help you get ready for what's next. He's brought to us by Landis Block. Create your very own jaw-dropping backyard paradise online at landisbc.com. And, of course, you're listening to 97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN, WPN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. Schefter, good morning.
Gentlemen, what is going on?
It's all right that Mike Greenberg takes precedence over us today because this is one of your biggest days of the year.
Yeah, happy free agency day, Schefter.
I got to tell you something, guys. You know, I know free agency opens at 4 o'clock today. Free agency closes. It's over, okay?
Yeah, it happened Monday at 12 o'clock.
No. It happened the last week. It happened Sunday. It happened Monday. It happened Tuesday. It's over.
Illegally.
With the exception of Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson and some quarterback drama, some veteran wide receivers, it's over. Like, we might get some trades at some point, player here, player there. But, look, I always view the start of the new league year, personally speaking, as a marathon. It's a 26.2-mile race. So it's a long, hard race. I'm on mile 24 today. Like, I'm just telling you, like, that's where we're at right now.
Well, speaking of trades, obviously a big one yesterday for the Philadelphia Eagles. CJ Gardner-Johnson, for the second time in 3 years, departing the Philadelphia Eagles, being traded to the Houston Texans. I know the report is that it was strictly financial. Would love to get your insight on the trade that took place yesterday that caught a lot of people by surprise.
Well, I think that's what it was. Again, and we talked about this in NFL Live yesterday. I'm sure we'll talk about it more this offseason. But first of all, look at what's going on in San Francisco. Look at all the salaries they're shedding. And they're not even paying their quarterback yet. The Eagles are paying their quarterback and their running back and their 2 receivers and their offensive line. And they have Jalen Carter coming up and Nolan Smith coming up. And they just paid Zach Bond. Like, you can't pay everybody. It just doesn't work. And so would they like to keep some of these? Of course. It's not practical. And so you have to start replenishing the cupboard with good young players that you hope you hit on the draft, and they've done a great job of doing that in recent years. And you start building up the draft picks because those players are young and foundational if you hit it right. And aside from that, they're on rookie contracts. So if we look at the Philadelphia Eagles in the next 2 drafts, they're scheduled with the compensatory draft picks that they'll get. And by the way, that doesn't even include one for Mekhi Becton, who we'll see what happens with his future. Mm-hmm. But right now, according to my calculations, they're scheduled to have 20 picks in the next 2 years. 20, including 11 in the first 4 rounds and 17 in the first 5 rounds. That's the next 2 years.
And that's when you're going to have to pay Jordan Davis. You're going to have to make the decision on that. Pay Jalen Carter a monster deal. There's a lot of young guys here you're going to have to pay, so that's probably a great strategy.
Mitchell,
yes, great strategy.
I mean, that's you're building. You're trying to win now. You're trying to maintain as best you can with an eye on the future. Because there's no way everybody can get paid. It just doesn't work like that.
Now, to that point, CJ Gardner-Johnson wasn't necessarily breaking the bank.
Nope.
And so
it saved them $200,000 this year.
Yeah, that's not saving them a ton of money. And so, obviously we're reacting with Eagles fans on social media here, here on the radio station. And a lot of people keep on saying that Howie Roseman now has something up his sleeve. Well, if they're doing whatever they can to save $200,000, I can't imagine that they're going to go out there and try to sign one of the top safeties that are available in free agency. At least that's the read that I have on the situation. So is there another move up the sleeve of Howie Roseman to replace CJ Gardner-Johnson? Or do you believe they're going to continue to go with the youth that's currently in-house, like a player like Sidney Brown, who they drafted in the 3rd round a couple of years ago?
Sidney Brown, Reed Blankenship. I think they're more likely to shed more salary than acquire more salary. That's how I feel right now. Now, again, I don't think there's anything up their sleeve, like they're waiting to go. By the way, does all this now even shed more light on the acquisition of Myles Garrett that we wasted time talking about?
I refuse to even buy into it. Like, I refuse to even discuss it. Like, I rolled my eyes at it. They weren't doing that.
They were never doing that. They were unless somehow, inexplicably, it fell into their lap to where Cleveland had to trade the best defensive player in football, and he was mandating that it be Philadelphia. There's no chance. There was never a real. Anyway, so you're asking if there's a trick up their sleeve. No. Again, I think they're more likely to shed more salaries, make more moves the other way than more outgoing than incoming, I think.
So we should expect does that mean we're expecting a quiet next couple weeks as far as talent acquisition?
Look, I think they're going to be mining it, monitoring it, because once you get to this point, again, I know free agency opens today, but free agency's over in terms of the high-ticket items, basically. And once these players are sitting out on the street for a week or two, some of these guys that didn't get the deals that they wanted, at that point in time, there may be a player or two that say, you know what, I didn't get the contract I wanted. Let me sign a one-year deal with a good team in a good organization where I'm going to get the right coaching, and let me hit it again next year, the free agent market. So maybe, and I'm not referring to anybody at all specifically, but every team does this. The Eagles are not unique in this. They're just waiting for guys' prices to come. Oh, I wasn't expecting to add player X, but he was only asking for $3 or $4 million a year. So how could I resist that? Do I think that that'll happen with the Eagles a couple of times? Yeah. I don't know who, but inevitably there are players sitting out there that price themselves too high that are still on the market right before the draft or right after the draft. And you know what? I'll take a flyer on this guy for $1.5 million, veteran minimum with upside. Why not? But are we sitting here today with some trick up their sleeve? No, I not that I know of.
Were you surprised that they did not retain some of the players that left for free agency? Not Josh Sweat, not Milton Williams. They got paid big money. Congratulations to them. But names like Isaiah Rodgers, who's going to Minnesota, reportedly. Darius Slay, reportedly to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Oren Burks to the Cincinnati Bengals, a depth guy that played a big role for them in the playoffs. Any of those names surprise you that they're not returning to Philadelphia?
Well, Darius Slay has not been officially released. He'll be released at 4 o'clock, and then after that he can begin to get his deal done with the Steelers. And, again, I think that's the full expectation, and we'll see if they can finish that off. Isaiah Rodgers was a guy they did want back, and they tried to get back. But the money got to a point where they didn't feel comfortable going to that spot. So he got a big deal in Minnesota. And I think that's a 6th-round compensatory draft pick for them. So I think they would like to have retained all these guys. Again, teams put a value on them that they couldn't keep up with right now.
Can I ask you a question about that Myles Garrett situation, but not where it involves the Eagles? I don't know how he walks back into that organization after doing that embarrassing tour of Radio Row at the Super Bowl, and he's down there begging to go to a winning franchise, and I want to be a winner. And then he just re-ups because the money's there. And Max Crosby was doing the same type of crap to me. I'm like, how do you walk into your organization and say, no, this is where I really want to be, when it was just a load of garbage?
Well, I'll just say this to you. I think you see this happen over time. And, again, I'm just thinking of certain trade requests, public trade requests in recent years. I think Deebo Samuel said he wanted to be done with the Niners, and they paid him, and he came back. Brandon Ayuk, same thing. Lamar Jackson issued a trade request from the Ravens. Myles Garrett, Max Crosby had some interest. The point is, and I think, it's important to remember this. This is a business, okay? And almost always, no matter what they say, usually money can get past it. Now, I do think there are certain situations, like Carson Palmer, where it gets beyond the money. But even then, when it gets beyond the money, oftentimes money can correct it. And so it's great fodder for shows like yours and mine that we can talk for endless hours about this guy's request, wants to be gone, where would he fit, what's going to happen. But let's also remember the next time we get one of these big trade requests that in football, the history has been that more often than not, the player winds up right back where than he is. Basketball is different, I think. But football, again, it just feels like it's almost like a playbook. Demand request. Say you won't play for the team. Hold out. Don't show up to the mini camps. Get new deal. Am I wrong?
No, you're not. No, you pretty much summed it up. And if you don't know it,
that's what John.
None of us know it.
That's what John Kincade did last week. He wasn't actually on vacation.
Yeah,
he was just holding out.
By the way, Adam, they should camp a reporter out at the resort I was at. I was in Jamaica, but at the resort there were Eagle Fred Johnson was in my building. Some Chiefs players were there, and I taught all the bartenders to say "Go Birds" to the Chiefs guys.
Yeah, and did they?
they did, and they got corrected by one of them to say, "Don't give me a Go Birds."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, it was a good trip, John.
It was a great trip. Absolutely awesome.
And his contract got worked out. And that's why.
It was really a holdout.
Yeah, it was really a holdout.
And here he is back at the station after saying he never broadcast again, right?
You know what Masteller told me? He goes, "The world needs ditch diggers too." That's what he said.
Shefty, listen, man. We know
Thanks, Adam.
We know you're down to 2 miles left of your marathon.
Finish strong.
Finish strong, man. We appreciate it. And we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys. Have a great week.
There you go.
There is Adam Schefter on the Comcast Business Hotline. Wow, is there stuff to react to from our conversation with Shefty?
He had a lot of stuff. He had a lot to say. Excellent.
They're not done yet.
But shedding salaries and word on what went down, who they wanted, who they didn't want it, that was awesome.
Yeah, but like I go to this Justin Simmons. Oh, Justin Simmons.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. If they're looking to shed more.
Exactly. Well, maybe they can go short-term with Justin Simmons that doesn't affect anything that they're going to do down the line with other people.
How many more short-term contracts does a veteran want to take?
That's true. Well, I don't think he's getting a big one.
No, but what, he got, I think, 1 for 10 last year or something like that? I don't know. We'll see. We'll react to it coming up next. It is Kincade and Salciunas. Also, the thank you tweet from CJ Gardner-Johnson. We'll read that to you next year on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey guys, it's Connor Thomas from Kincade and Salciunas. Thanks so much for checking out our most recent interview with ESPN NFL insider Adam Schefter. If you want more Shefty content, click up here and make sure you're subscribing to the 97.5 The Fanatic YouTube page for more great content.